Hello and welcome wherever you're listening and watching 2020 Coaching Convos, passionately curious as usual with me, Julie Crabb. So I'm doing what I love. I'm connecting with others by hosting conversations with guest coaches and at the same time continuing my pursuit of learning. So we're going to be hearing about the passions and interests of coaches, what fires them up, what they're interested in, and also what they're learning and exploring at the moment. And we can also figure out what we want to adopt and learn from these passions and adapt into our own coaching practice. So this week, my guest is someone who, having worked extensively in the biotech and pharmaceutical sectors, is now a business coach. So she specializes in the implementation of robust project management frameworks and governance structures. And she mentors and coaches managers to enhance their leadership skills and also to improve their communication with teams or within teams, between team people as well. So in her LinkedIn profile, she says, "My focus is on boosting team morale, fostering dynamic interactions, and empowering individuals to excel." So welcome, Magda Jeznach.
Thank you, Julie. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you too here, Magda. And how are you doing today?
I'm really well, thank you. I was really looking forward to our chat.
Good. Me too. Me too. It's really good to see you again. And as a lead in to thinking about passion, Magda,
hmm
can you give us a bit of an idea about what kind of people and companies that you work with?
Yeah, certainly. So I have worked for a series of different types of companies within the life sciences industry. I've worked in a lot of startup companies, so obviously startup biotech where the teams are very new and there is a lot of ambiguity. There's often not a project manager in place, so that's where sort of my project management, governance, implementation kind of started. But I have also worked in big pharma companies such as AstraZeneca and GlaxoSmithKline, where obviously it's a very different environment and processes are in place, but they have all sorts of other kind of things they want to be working on. So yeah, that's sort of where kind of my passion working with managers and being a manager myself for so many years have developed.
Wow. That's a big range, isn't it, from startup right through to the large companies like GlaxoSmithKline. And
Yes.
you mentioned managers, and I know it's middle managers predominantly that you work with. Who might that involve? Who might be included in that
Yeah,
group?
that's a very good question. I think people sometimes assume that it's people who have a manager title, like a project manager, for example. And I work with a lot of project and program managers, but actually, I want to highlight people who are also team leaders. For example, they may be heading scientific teams, and they do elements of project management in their role, or just line management as well, of course, which is incredibly important in the business. There's people like heads of departments who lead teams and also sort of face similar challenges to all sorts of managers that I work with. So yes, I would say there is a whole range of different roles that would kind of go under that umbrella of working with mid-level managers.
Mm. So what you've got to say is likely to appeal to a lot of different kinds of managers.
That is very true. Yes.
So Magda, I've got some experience of, or quite a lot of experience of managing and leading
hmm
at lots of different levels. I have no experience of biotech and pharmaceutical sectors.
Mm.
And you mentioned ambiguities. What kind of ambiguities do
Oh,
managers deal with in your area?
that is an excellent question. So obviously with biotech especially, they are new companies. They quite often start up at university and they spin out into small biotech companies. So there's a lot of sort of academic knowledge, but not necessarily wealth of corporate world knowledge or how to run a business. So obviously this varies from business to business, but I find definitely they have a lot of pressure on themselves because they have a product in a pipeline and everything depends on developing that one product and getting it to the patient as soon as possible. So they have incredible pressure from investors, incredible pressure on themselves to grow sustainably, to grow the teams, and to obviously bring that product to the market. So yes, I find biotech particularly, it's a very fast-paced, quite stressful environment. Also incredibly innovative and exciting, don't get me wrong. But I think it takes a special kind of manager to thrive in that environment.
Mhm. That's really interesting. And at the risk of being ageist, you
Mhm.
mentioned it's often people who have generated the product whilst at university. Is it predominantly a younger age group of manager that you're working with?
Oh, it varies. Definitely varies. Obviously, with the spin-outs in particular, you have the teams change, the dynamics change. You get over time a lot of senior workforce joining in, of course, because they need to help to lead the business to that sort of regulatory stage and getting the product out to the market. But when it comes to managers, yes, I think a lot of them are sort of younger group, but I also, especially at the head of department level, work with slightly sort of older age group. So it doesn't really matter for me at all.
So that's a completely wrong assumption I had there. So I can hear that the work that you do is a mixture of coaching and mentoring.
Yes.
Is it always goal focused? I kind of picture that because it's about creating,
Mhm.
getting a product set out and it's project management, is it always goal orientated or are there other elements to it?
I think there are several elements to it. Obviously, because I'm a coach and I'm very forward thinking, forward focused, and with a goal in mind. So obviously, that's the definition of coaching itself. But there is other elements like building people's resilience. So obviously, working in such fast-paced environment, which is continuous pressure on a person, working and making sure that someone stays resilient in that environment is incredibly important. So that's less kind of goal oriented. Of course, it's good to have those milestones to hit to see the progress, but it's a lot more holistic. It's a lot more looking into your core values and building that very strong foundation. To make sure you kind of keep going and you kind of evolve into all-rounded individual in your role.
Mm. So can I ask you, I might be putting you on the spot a little bit here, Magda, but I
Go
imagine
for
this will
it.
trip off your tongue. What kind of top three tips would you give to, say, a startup manager
Mhm.
managing a project in terms of maintaining their resilience?
It's a very good question. I'd say start with understanding your core values to begin with. If you don't already, because a lot of people obviously do know their core values, but also making sure that you understand how those core values align to the company culture. And really making that connection because that will help you from day to day kind of keep going. If there is that alignment, if there is no alignment, then of course you have to understand, well, you have to work through it, whether there is areas where you can adapt and be flexible, or whether you think that this isn't an environment for you. So I'd say that alignment of values is really important. Secondly, I think it's also really important to have regular check-ins with yourself throughout the day. I found myself, because in biotech, you are sort of stretched in multiple directions. The job description isn't very clear. So you tend to do more in a day. So I think also making sure you kind of have this kind of 10 minutes out of your day here and there, which I know is very difficult to do, but really important for the mental health, to really check in with yourself. How am I doing today? How am I feeling? Is this too much? What can I cut out? What can I delegate? Especially as a manager, if you have option of delegating to your direct reports, think what you can delegate and works a little bit smarter than hard so much all the time, just to keep that resilience going. And I would say the third one is also what's really helpful is have someone to talk to. on a regular basis, someone trusted, whether that is, it may be your line manager, it may not be, it may be a trusted colleague, it may be someone outside of work, but just having someone to bounce those sort of frustrations and concerns with, just so that we don't bottle it up all the time. There's so many other things we can do for resilience, but I'd say that these three are sort of quite important, and I definitely recommend those.
Fantastic. And I can see that at least one of them is about connection, which is really important.
Really
Yeah.
important.
So can see from the way that you convey what you're talking about and your voice and your energy, Magda, that managers are your passion.
Absolutely.
What connects you to that? How did you get so I don't know, how did you get so drawn to supporting managers in particular?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Obviously, I have been working as a manager, and I've lived and breathed that role and the challenges. I also worked below managers, and I was a senior to managers where I was coaching and mentoring teams in sort of workplace scenario. So I can really appreciate the challenges and the pain points that they go through on a daily basis. But I can also appreciate the standpoint of someone who works under a manager or sort of manages managers. So I can understand it from different perspectives. And my really strong sense is that managers work incredibly hard. They are real assets to the business. They pulling everyone together, but there is a lot of pressure on them because there is a lot of push and pull that they are subject to between sort of the senior leadership level and the teams that they are coordinating. So I really cherish the work that they do. And I think when I was working in pharma and biotech, focusing on processes, I was thinking, well, what's left is the people element. And I wasn't addressing the people element as much as I would have liked to. And this is where my passion for developing individuals on a managerial level and supporting them really came in. As you'd see, there's a lot of coaching out there on the exec level, coaching of CEOs, but I'm not seeing anywhere coaching of managers per se. And I think these people really need support. And I feel like I'm equipped because I have been through it. And I really want to bring them sort of practical solutions that they can implement quite easily into their busy lives.
Fantastic. And I love that lived experience you're bringing. I've been there, I know how it feels, I know the
Mm,
pressures. And I heard you say that word cherish, which is not a word that you hear very often, but I align it
mm.
so much with passion. It's wonderful.
Thanks.
Um, I know, Magda, that you have a number of programs that you offer and also a newsletter. Is there something you can share about those?
I would love to, yes. So I have several programs that I offer to my clients. One program called Elevate 360. It could go on for 12 or 6 months, and that's kind of like an all-rounder program where we focus on everything from building your resilience, developing your leadership skills. Some clients take this program to prepare for promotion or a more senior role in the company, or they may want to elevate themselves in a current position. So that's a really good program to really look holistically at everything, your communication, influencing skills, and so on. It's really, really comprehensive. Then there is a 3 months program which is focused on, it's called Action Catalyst, and that's very much focused on one particular goal you may want to achieve in the next 3 months. So it's really focusing you, really giving you that responsibility and accountability to achieve your goal much faster and more efficiently than if you were to do it by yourself. And finally, there is another program around resilience, because obviously, as I mentioned earlier, that's such a big challenge at the moment. I think it always has been, but I'm really seeing this among my ex-colleagues and friends in the industry who are really suffering with resilience and burnout and just thinking of changing jobs, quite quitting and all sorts of issues around it. So I developed a program called Bounce Back, and that's a 3 month program to rebuild the resilience and move people away from that cliff edge, as I call it, um, of leaving the job, because quite often it's leaving your job does not necessarily mean when you find a new job, you're not going to have the same problems. A lot of it is very much working internally on what you're going through right now.
Mm.
And finally, yes, you mentioned the newsletter. I have a newsletter called Business Coach Me, and I publish that fortnightly via LinkedIn page. And that's a free resource for managers to learn about sort of leadership insights, tips, around management, self-growth, and leadership, as I mentioned. So yes, that's hopefully really encourage people to subscribe to that actually, because yeah, as I say, free resource. And I like to hear from my clients as well. I always ask people, what's on your mind? What can I write about? What would you like to know the answer to? And I use that as an inspiration to write the newsletter.
Mm, very clever. I was thinking as you're talking through that very rich set of programs, what clever titles they are, but
Thank you.
also very clever content too. I made a note about the Action Catalyst one. I thought that's the smartest title I know
Ah, thanks
for a
so much.
program that's aimed at like a biotech industry.
Yeah, yeah, it
Catalyst.
was really important for me that they are very clear. So they say what's on the tin, but also I like to play on words as well in my website that's being built right now, but also in kind of my programs.
Yeah, superb. Magda, we're coming towards the end of our time, so I've got just three very quick fire questions, if I
Sure,
may.
of course,
So I know a lot of your clients are going to be looking for success in their stressful, busy lives and in their
of
stressful,
course.
busy projects. Can you tell me of particular successes that you have in relation to your passion working with managers?
Yeah. Yes, I think there is actually surprisingly, I think sometimes people don't think coaching can be tangible, but actually it very much is. Just to give you some examples, working with my clients, one of my clients wanted to get a promotion to a more senior managerial role. And that was something she wanted to do within the next 3 months. But in the first sessions, we decided why not we just prepare the proposal, equip you and really put something forward. And then she had a meeting with her bosses. And after one coaching and mentoring, I should say, she got the promotion she needed and she wanted, as well as the salary raise. So it was incredible that, her preparation, just a little bit of nudge here and there, and such a wonderful outcome. Another one, when my client was working on a big project in the business that was sort of her own initiative, and just seeing how, just through coaching and mentoring, she was able to put together the most incredible proposal that went flying through approvals from the CEO and the exec teams. And then she had to go ahead to implement it, and seeing how coaching of one person then impacts on changes to the whole business is incredible. It always blows my mind how transformational coaching actually is.
Mm,
So I really feel that people should really not undervalue, the benefits of coaching.
mm. I love that example because it does, as you say, demonstrate the ripple effect of the outcome,
Absolutely.
also the ecology of what we're doing. It's not
Of
just
course.
one
That
context, but actually
individual.
it affects
Mm.
around. Yeah, fantastic. What one thing, Magda, would you want coaches to take away
Mm.
about your passion?
It's a very good question. I think educating people in the industry, just like I do it in science, but whatever their industry is, I think educating people about the clear definition of coaching, the benefits of coaching, and how it can impact on the industry. Because what I'm finding so far is that it's a very uneven field. Some companies, some individuals have a very good, clear understanding of coaching, and they already heavily investing in that because they recognize that. For example, in Asia, for example, or the US, coaching is very widely recognized, and there's a lot of money being pumped into it. I think UK is kind of it's a developing field. So definitely just screaming, shouting out there about the benefits because it is transformational. And if we can help the businesses, why not do it?
Mm, brilliant. Thank you. And I've got just one last question, Magda, and that is because I know that people watching and listening will be interested in what you've been able to say today in this short time. How do people get hold of you? How do we get in contact with you?
Thank you. I think the easiest would be through my LinkedIn page. I have book free consultation on there. If they wanted to go straight into a discovery call and have a chat with me, I'll be really happy to do that. Alternatively, they can just send me a direct message through LinkedIn or email me on scientificupltd@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Magda. My enormous thank yous to you,
Thank you so much,
Magda
Julie.
Jeznach, for being a guest on this podcast and yeah, and sharing your passion about managers on 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb. So, listeners and viewers, if you enjoyed this episode, please share and subscribe and tell me what you want to hear more about in 2020 Coaching Convos. Till next time.